Hey everybody, and thanks for joining me on another episode of Straight Jacket White Rabbit. My name's Adam, and as usual, I'll be your host. You guys, not to toot my own horn or anything, but have you been watching my channel for the last year? Because a lot of things I said were going to happen have happened, and are in the process of happening as we speak. I mean, honestly, I'm feeling like a psychic who's predicted 9 out of 10. I feel pretty good right about now. No, I'm not psychic, and no, I don't claim to be. But these are all things I saw signs coming a long time ago. And I knew they were coming, and sure enough, each one of them has. So I want to run down this list for you real quick on tonight's episode and see what you think, see what your opinions are, and see if you think this is headed to where I think this is headed. Okay, first of all, you guys, I've been saying for a long time, we are very close to the end. And by the end, I mean the end of the world as we know it. That doesn't mean the end of life on the entire planet, but it means the end of the world as we know it. Things are about to change in a biblical, huge way. And I want to kind of dive into this because of what my beliefs are and the things I've put together over the last year, but I want to kind of take it a step by step for a moment with you guys. I want to start there are signs that are predicted in every religious text when it talks about their version of the end of the world or Armageddon or the apocalypse or whatever you want to call it. And some of these signs are kind of universal and some of them not so much. But rather than relying just on religious texts, I've relied on religious texts, I've relied on basic math. And that is to say that our planet runs through cycles. And these cycles can be roughly predicted, if not eventually accurately predicted, where for one reason or another, the earth cleans its slate. Or someone does it for it. Who knows? But I felt the end coming. My brother knows all about this. He believes we're not too far from the end as well. Now, I said at the beginning of last year that we were going to start seeing a torrential rise in hauntings, demonic possessions, the paranormal in general. I also said we were going to see huge increases in numbers of cryptid sightings, UFO sightings, Bigfoot, Loch Ness, you name it, we're going to see more of it. And the reason I believed all this was going to happen was because I believe that as a part of this, we'll call it a process, I believe that we are in very real danger of the veil collapsing between worlds. And I mean between our world and the other side of death. Now, whatever you want to call this other dimension, it's filled with good people and bad people, good spirits, bad spirits. It's filled with monsters of unimaginable strength and abilities. So it's really not a good thing, even though there are some good people in the veil, it's really not a good thing that the veil comes down completely. Because if this other world comes spilling in, we're not ready for it. Now, if you think about it, that fits into a lot of religious texts about the dead walking the earth or the dead rising. Maybe it's not that they're rising. Maybe it's that the veil collapsed and they're just here now. There's a lot of similarities in what I believe and different versions of the Bible and Hindu texts and, I mean, many other religious books from around the world. I don't think any one of them has it 100% correct. At least not as far as the apocalypse goes. Now, I'm not talking about they have their religion correct. Okay, your religion's your religion and you have a right to believe in that. But I'm specifically talking about these religions' take on the end of the world. Now, we're in this war with Iran, and you can call it a bombing or a military operation. We can call it whatever you want. We're bombing Iran. And a lot of people think that this is actually a biblical prophecy starting to come to fruition. And sad to say, it's a biblical prophecy to do with bringing on Armageddon, the resurrection of Jesus, the final battle, whatever you want to call it. But one step closer to a massively less occupied world. And over the past year, slowly but surely, I'm watching the numbers. And in each one of these categories I listed, I'm being proven profoundly right. Take the paranormal activity as far as hauntings go, you guys. Hauntings right now, reports of hauntings in the United States are up 38% from the year before last. So in other words, the year before I predicted it was still going up. It's been going up for a while. But when I predicted it until now, it has gone up over 30%. That's a huge jump, you guys. It hasn't gone up 30 entire percentage points since I've been alive. I think before that jump, the highest that it ever jumped was like an 8-point margin of reported sightings. Now, these are only reported sightings. Keep in mind, there are some people who don't report things and people who report false things, and we're never going to get a 100% accurate count of the number, but these are his best numbers that we have. Now, you go to possessions. I've done a video on this. Look at the Catholic Church. Their own, you can Google it. They admit it. They're having a problem of, like, historic proportions, keeping up with the amount of exorcisms needed for people who are being possessed or under possession of some form or oppressed. It's through the roof, and it's only getting higher and higher and higher, faster and faster and faster. Are these really demons just circling the shattered world, trying to get into a vessel? If you don't believe in demons, you can call them what you want, you guys. I mean, call them shadow people, call them evil entities, whatever you want. But the point is these things are real, and they are increasing at a freakish speed. I mean, absolutely amazing. Now, the next thing I want to go on to is, obviously, the cryptids. I told you guys back in, I think it was February of last year, roughly. Keep an eye on this. They're going to start popping out of the woodwork left and right. Cryptid sightings are going to go through the roof. Now, we've had 3 times the amount of sightings at Loch Ness. The Dogman. I mean, it goes on and on and on, you guys. Mothman has been reported exponentially more in the last 365 days. You have reports of animals that have super rare sightings, like the Thunderbird, you guys. Last year, there were over a half a dozen reports of the Thunderbird in one state alone. That's right. The Thunderbird, traditional Native American giant bird, you know, lightning, thunder, all that stuff. And people are seeing these things. People rarely see the Thunderbird nowadays. And I was starting to believe it might have gone extinct. But then reports went on the rise. And I told you cryptids, not 1 or 2. And it's coming true, you guys. People are seeing dogmen, werewolves, whatever you want to call them, more often. People are seeing a huge increase in Bigfoot sightings. Have you been following the news this week? 7 7 reported sightings within 5 days by credible witnesses in Ohio. And I know some of you who don't know Ohio very well. They're like, Ohio? Most people don't think Ohio when they think Bigfoot, but there are actually a huge number of reported sightings annually there. I think there's over 300 total sightings there, according to the BFRO website, which has not been up forever. This is not like in all time, that's how many sightings there's been, you guys. That's just since they've been tracking it. But we had 7 credible sightings in 5 days. And it's not just Ohio, Washington State, California, Colorado, Florida. I mean, all of these places, sightings of the Sasquatch, Bigfoot, Yeti, Yowie, all across the world. Australia. It's not just here in America either, you guys. All of these things I'm bringing up, the possessions, the hauntings, spiritual activity of any kind, paranormal activity of any kind, cryptids, all of this stuff is on the rise worldwide. This is not an American phenomenon, you guys. This is a, oh crap, world-ending warning sign. Okay? Like, for real right now, if we were on Lost in Space, the little robot would be running around yelling, "Danger, Will Robinson, danger." Okay, like, our planet is in peril right now. Something big is about to happen, and it's going to happen in such a major way that the mass populations are just not going to be ready for it. We're talking end of the world stuff. Now, when people say end of the world, everyone thinks of something different. I want to reiterate this. I do not believe the world is going to end as in there's no life on Earth. Not anytime soon, anyways. But I'm talking about a earth-shattering rift. A rift that is going to cause catastrophic damage to the way we live our current everyday lives. I'm talking about breakdown of all your social services, food, water, electricity are all going to go out the window unless you can provide them for yourselves. You're not going to have, hospitals, police departments, all these things are all going to go bye-bye very quickly. And people don't understand how bad it's going to get with these new creatures and entities and beings, whatever you want to call them, ghosts, cryptids, whatever, roaming the earth. By the counts of it, by the hundreds of thousands. So I might not be psychic, but if you've been watching my channel and paying attention to what I've said, I seem to be pretty darn close to right on the nose with where this is heading. Included in all my foretelling, I've been telling people for 25 years that there's an elite upper class ruling this planet who not only feed on the blood of the innocent, and by the innocent I don't just mean children, but yes, children as well. These people feed on blood, they bathe in it, they do rituals to demonic entities, or we'll just call them dark forces if you don't want to go spiritual or religious with it. But these people are paying homage to some dark force. Okay, and I'm a firm believer in the yin and the yang and the power of opposites that always has to exist. Okay, there's always going to be a night to a day. There's always going to be an end to the rain and a dry season. There's always going to be an opposite. There's going to be a good, there's going to be a bad, and it will always be that way. However, I've mentioned this before, the scales of balance in those two things can shift. And it's the shift that scares me. Because we're talking about a shift from good to evil. Not altogether, but majorly speaking. I believe that we have gone so far downhill from the help our human species, help ourselves, help our neighbors, help our family. I mean, I see people turning down their own family members for things that are simple requests, a roof over their head, things like this. People nowadays are very entitled to their own comfort without any thought for the comfort of others. And that is evil. It may not be, Skeletor take over the universe, Masters of the Universe type thing evil. It may not be Stephen King's It evil, Pennywise. But it's evil. It's evil in people's hearts, evil in the hearts of men. We're having more murders than ever. We're picking more fights with each other than ever. We have more subjects that bring division and hatred between us than ever. And this is the shift that is going to end the world as we know it. Because you can only pile on so much negative before something has to break to try to restore balance. Christians call it Armageddon with the second coming of Christ. What do you think that is if not a balancing of the scales? A true fight between good and evil to rebalance the system. But the problem is a few things. Number one, nobody has any idea how long this transition takes. It could be ultra quick. It could take years or decades, centuries perhaps. Because when the balance of power shifts with such a hard certainty towards one or the other, good or evil, the universe will eventually balance them out. Now, like I said, you guys, these are things I'm telling you, you can Google, you can do basic things to look this knowledge up, to check any facts I've said. Go look up how many possessions there are recently. Look up the Vatican's own statements on it. It is still on the rise and has been for years, and it's only getting exponentially worse day by day. Paranormal investigations and stuff may be all the true fad nowadays with, ghost hunters and all these other people doing shows on it. But it also proves another point of mine. They don't run out of places to go. Because the hauntings are becoming more prevalent. Spirits appearing in broad daylight, doing Class A EVPs, being seen as full-bodied apparitions. These used to be relatively uncommon. Nowadays, you can flip on any cable television show, YouTube channel, and watch people go look for ghosts and succeed in finding them. Not because they're pulling some weird gimmick or trying to pull strings and set things up behind stage that are fake, because they're really happening. And they're happening at a higher and higher number. This has to stop at some point. You can only go up so long before you peak. And at that peak, the world is going to flip, in my brother's eyes, quite literally, being sucked up. But I don't know how it's going to turn out. I'm not as confident. Do you guys honestly think that people have gone too far? Do you think we're too far gone to redeem? As a species, can we save ourselves if this truly is a fight for your soul, be it good or bad? If this is a fight for humanity as one species, do you think we could put aside differences enough to pull ourselves back from the precipice of evil? I'm sure there are a lot of us who would try. We'd fight to the death for it. But I'm not so sure it's going to work, because I'm not so sure we have the numbers anymore. And I'd like to say we, because I'd like to think I'm part of this group. I mean, we've all done stupid things or bad things or lied. But I truly believe that the intent of a person, through their actions, their intentions, and their heart, are what matter most. I don't believe a lot of humans in their heart are evil or bad people. They've just been corrupted by evil. They've lived in a way and a lifestyle that has shown them too much evil, to where it is permeated throughout themselves. They've just become, I don't want to say immune to it, because that's the wrong word. They've become accustomed to it. They've become used to it, and it is actually seeped into them. But they can pull it back. People like this are not lost, okay? Just because you have bad days or make mistakes does not mean you're lost forever from being a good person. That's what gives me the little bit of hope that I have. Sorry, my voice went out. That's what gives me a little bit of hope that I have, is that we can pull it back from the edge before it flips completely to where the dark outnumbers the light. When I told you guys about these over the course of the last year, earlier last year, and I told you about all these signs coming, it wasn't to brag that I knew they were coming. It was to warn you that these things coming are going to precede something that's going to be really bad by all accounts. Whether you believe religious texts about the end of the world, or, psychics have been talking about it for love or money for decades, depending on if you believe in them, or, I believe in psychics, just not all psychics. Not Miss Cleo psychics. But I've had independent people talking to me about, I go ghost hunting all the time, and I'm seeing such just an amp up of activity, and I'm like, yeah, I know, I've heard. I have people who are friends with people who are in the BFRO group, the Bigfoot Research Organization, and they're telling me, man, they're fielding calls like it's going out of style all of a sudden, not just from America. But there's sightings here in America that are popping up more prevalently. There's sightings in Australia, and the Himalayas, and India, and all over the world. Russia is experiencing a higher percentage of sightings of their version of Bigfoot. And this isn't, like I said, it's not just Bigfoot. This goes for UFOs, cryptids of all kinds. This goes for any kind of the supernatural, the paranormal. And I believe what is triggering these events is that whatever this world-changing Armageddon to come is going to be, I believe it's affecting the veil. Now, that being said, you guys, you need to get ready. Because I can't tell you if it's in 2 years or 5 or 6 months from now or 12 years from now. I don't know. What I know is something big is coming. I can feel it in my freaking bones. I have friends who are psychics that I talk to still to this day, who all independently say that something big is building. Like worldwide big. Things are just amping up and amping up and amping up, and it's an energy that you can feel. It's literally when you walk outside. Do any of you feel this when you walk? Just in your day-to-day life, can you feel this? It's almost like a background tension. Like you could cut the air with a knife, like tension. And it's just kind of building little bits by little bit by little bit by little bit by little bit. I genuinely feel this way, and I know it's a silly way to describe this, but it's the closest thing I can say to you to try to get you to understand where I'm coming from and how this feels to me. I've been sitting here for the last, I'll say about 10 years or so, and it's not that I came across any research that went, oh my God, it's building up. I didn't do that. I just noticed the world around me slowly turning into things and turning into, I'm not going to say I almost said that it was like a place filled with more surprises and more like suspense and like mysteries, but it's not really that. It's these older mysteries are coming back and more prominently than we're used to them occurring. I almost feel like this might actually have something to do with the magics of the world disappearing and returning one day, which would be something to look forward to, in at least my opinion. Some people don't think so. I believe when the veil collapses and this calamity, whatever it is, Armageddon, whatever you want to call it, starts, I believe that the magic of our world will be unlocked once again. I believe something has cut us off from this, and it will come back. And I'm not the only one who feels like this. There are thousands of us. There are things in our history we can't explain without magic. And not just magic. I'm not completely oblivious that we had technology as well that we've lost. But there was actual magic. Energy that was within all of us that was either destructive or creative. A flowing of, I just want to say, a flowing of the human essence, of our energy magnified. And I believe that this magic, like I said, was stolen from us or cut off from us some way. A lot of people believe it was on purpose, that we were dumbed down and taught to not believe. And people talk all the time about believing is seeing and seeing is believing. No, it's not. Believing is seeing, but seeing isn't just believing. It doesn't just go one way. It goes all ways, you guys. This is why there are people like in Buddhist monks who believe in things like spiritual beings. I've talked about this before. Tulpas. A being created simply by the power of thought. So, is it really that far-fetched to think that our access to these powers could have been blocked over the years simply by ignoring them? By people throwing shade at them that you can't, oh, magic's not real. We've taught an entire generation of children that magic doesn't exist. And quite frankly, even if it doesn't, what a bunch of D-bags does that make the people teaching kids that magic doesn't exist? I'd never tell my son magic doesn't exist, because I firmly believe it does. But we've taken the wonder out of the world. We know everything. We've discovered everything, even though we find new species daily. And we've done all of this and removed all this wonder from the world. For what reason? Did we confine ourselves to a world without magic that we could have? Or was it something out of our control? Was it a switch that was simply cosmically switched off? Switched off. I don't claim to know the answers to these, but these are questions I have. Were we physically cut off from this? Was there some kind of wall put up? And I mean that in the spiritual sense or the metaphysical sense, that blocked us from these powers? Or do we still have these powers? And this is why we get people with psychic abilities and telekinesis and things like this on rare occasions. Do we still have access to these powers, but we've blocked ourselves from using them through disbelief, mockery, and just, quite frankly, a lack of imagination? The power of the mind is a funny thing. Belief is a funny thing. People have done a lot of crazy things in the name of things they believe. Now, what if you can focus the energy inside of yourself, let alone the energy around you, all over this planet, all over this universe? What if we could elevate ourselves to beings of pure energy? Even a person who has not yet ascended to a being of pure energy would be capable of things that the normal person would say is magic. Healing someone's wounds with just a simple wave of your hand or a touch. These are things that have been reported in actual history. Now, we've chalked them up to legends and folklore and myths. The things that people created to explain away things they didn't understand. Or did we come up with that excuse to dumb down people to help us believe that magic doesn't exist and it isn't real, so that we lose access to it for all time? Now, like I said, whether or not you've watched all my videos or not, if you've seen some of my work, you've probably heard me say these things. And now they're all coming true. So what do you think the reasoning is? Are we heading towards an apocalyptic event? A world-changing, world-shattering end of humanity as we know it, at least. If not always, just outright obliterating humanity. But if humanity does survive, I believe it's going to be forever changed. Do you guys think that this is some kind of an end times beginning? What are these signs that I've just brought up to you guys, that I've been bringing up to you guys about the veil collapsing? And why are they all coming true? Why are they all increasing by dramatic numbers? I'm not sure what's going on here in our world. But I do know one thing. The scales are tipping. And when things start to slide from the scales because the balance is so far out of whack, you better hope that you're still left on the board. Because we need all the soldiers on the side of good that we can get. You guys take it easy. Have a great night. Like, share, subscribe, and join as a member. This is Straight Jacket White Rabbit saying, love each other, protect each other, and stay on the side of good. The final battle could be right around the corner.